Hi friends, Liz Grace Christie here. It is a interesting time to be alive, to say the least, and an astrology consultation can be really helpful at giving you a center to ground into and move with a sense of purpose and direction from. A lot of us might be feeling a little out of control, and I am here to help. Before we dive into this weekend's goddess report, I wanted to let you all know that I offer astrology readings for $44 a half an hour and $88 for an hour. I also recently created a new product called an intuition kit, which is a kit designed to help you get closer to your spirit guides, and your higher self. I'm offering my podcast listeners 20% off of my intuition kits, which knocks off about $11 from a $55 asking price. You can find my intuition kits along with a place to schedule an astrology consultation on my website, galacticmythology.com. Your support means so much to me. And with that, enjoy this weekend's episode. Hello, one and all beautiful souls. This is Liz Grace Christie. Thank you for tuning into my channel, Galactic Mythology, and thank you for showing up to listen to another weekend goddess report. Today, I am reporting for the weekend of April 11th through April 14th, 2025. I will be speaking a lot on the goddess Juno, also known as Hera. Juno is the wife of Zeus in the Greek pantheon. Juno is the original doe-eyed goddess, akin to Hathor of the Egyptian pantheon. Juno is an asteroid goddess that exists in our asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter in our solar system. She is an asteroid that goes retrograde, just like Mercury does, but she only goes retrograde about once a year. And as I speak, we are in the midst of a Juno retrograde. Juno went retrograde around March 20th, 2025, and she did so in the first degree of Sagittarius. She has officially entered the 0 degree point of Sagittarius, which is making a trine aspect to Neptune in the fresh new spot of the Aries vortex, also known as the 0 degree mark of the Aries sign. I use the term Aries vortex in reference to my friend and mentor Thomas Miller, who is also a friend and student somewhat to another notorious astrologer named Ray Merriman. Thomas Miller does the narrating for Ray Merriman's newsletter and occasionally for Ray's astrological books that he writes. And Ray Merriman is an astrologer who looks specifically at finances and the economy, which is a very hot topic as I speak, because last weekend, dare I say it, because I don't really want to get into politics, the United States president created some tariffs on foreign goods, which is causing a big uproar in the American economy. Ray Merriman and Thomas Miller alike have been stressing the significance of this 0 Aries degree point basically since the end of last year and into this new year 2025, which we're already a quarter of the way through. They've been saying that this Aries vortex point is very important because a lot of planets that haven't crossed over this point are going to be ending cycles, such as Neptune ending a cycle by leaving its domain of Pisces and going into the fiery realms of Aries. We already had Mercury cross over this Aries degree point, and we've had Venus cross over this 0 Aries degree point, which they're going to gear up to do again now that Mercury has gone direct as of April 7th and Venus going direct as of April 12th this weekend. We could gear up for some more deja vu. But in the meantime, let's focus on Neptune and how Neptune just ended a huge 200-year cycle throughout the zodiac, and is now in the fresh terrain of Aries, a sign that is guaranteed to give some culture shock to our friend Neptune and a massive temperature change. And Neptune isn't alone. Neptune has some support from the goddess Juno. The goddess Juno, who is resting at the 0-degree point of Sagittarius, a mutable sign that is focused on the future, the bigger picture, what is to come, and in some ways, a little too consumed with the bigger picture. Juno isn't really comfortable in the sign of Sagittarius, considering that this is her husband's domain. It's supposed to be, I guess, her kingdom as well. This is her place where she can technically, live. Mount Olympus vibes here. But I wouldn't say she's comfortable, because if we know about the esoteric mythology of Juno, we know that she is actually a queen who had to give up her kingdom, her queendom, to Zeus in an effort to create peace for mankind's evolution. I like to think of Juno as somewhat akin to Lilith, as well as Hathor, as I mentioned earlier, but Lilith being this dark side of Juno in the sense of the side that had to be casted into the darkness for the benefit of mankind. And what I'm saying is that in the mythology, Juno was once the main goddess of planet Earth, and during that time that Juno was the goddess of the earth, I believe that humanity was in an astral state. We were not fully physical yet, and for those of you who know about Lemuria, I think of this era being the era of Juno, essentially, and the era of Lilith. And Lilith is the part of the feminine that refused to marry Adam, where Juno is the part of the feminine that sacrificed that part of herself, sacrificed Lilith, and did marry Adam, marry Zeus. So the story of Juno has a lot to do with commitments. And if you're familiar with the Fae, you know that the Fae are all about the word. You really have to be on your P's and Q's when you're dealing with Fae folk, fairies, gnomes, trolls. You can't say something and go back on it without a very deliberate and distinct conversation. This is where fays, fairies can turn to be somewhat cruel, because they're so literal when you speak that if you forget, they'll just literally live out the contract, which is something that human beings actually struggle with. People struggle to treat their word like a spell. They struggle to realize every single day the power of their word. And I know that I struggle with it, but I am growing as an individual, and I'm doing my best to be mindful of my words and the way that I spellcast. With all that in mind, Juno is a goddess that has 2 commitments and 2 her word. And we all know that Zeus in Greek mythology isn't the most faithful companion, but Juno stays by his side. She does get jealous, she does get wrathful, which is a downfall of Juno, and in some ways can be seen in the archetype of Lilith. I say that Juno is akin to Hathor because in the ancient Egyptian pantheon, Hathor has to do with nutrition, nourishment, childbirth, a vessel in many ways that allows spirit to come into physical form. And in the highest octave of Juno, that is what she is as well. In the days of antiquity, women would pray to Juno for fertility, fertile time. As much as it is tumultuous, right? But with tumultuous energy, we can make manure. And with manure, we can plant seeds, and those seeds can grow into strong plants of corn. Because guess what? Who else is in play this weekend? Asteroid goddess Ceres in Pisces, within the 17th degree of the sign. She is making a square to Jupiter, Zeus. Juno's husband that I've been speaking about. Your commitments and what you're committed to is up for review. Juno being retrograde right now at this time of the year, making a trine to the freshly emerged Neptune and Aries, is literally bringing light to what isn't working for us. What commitments do we need to sacrifice? How are we being wrathful, potentially? Because, like I said, the dark side of Juno is wrath. And the dark side of Aries is a sick warrior, a sadistic warrior, a warrior that acts purely out of self and with no strategy. Asteroid goddess Ceres, a goddess of nutrition, but really a goddess that is very greatly linked to Saturn in time and cycles. That is why she's linked to nutrition, because if we didn't have the seasons and respect them the way we do, we wouldn't yield corn for harvest. We have to respect Ceres. You can't grow corn in winter, but you can grow corn through spring and into summer, and you can harvest it in the fall. You can't disregard time. You are time bound. You actually have the ability to generate your own time field, but that's a whole other conversation. There's so much going on this weekend, so let's stick to the weekend goddess report for April 11th through April 14th. We got a full moon this weekend in the diplomatic sign of Libra, and it is conjunct the fixed star Arcturus, a star all about guiding us to the other side. And I gotta say, this weekend has a lot of bridge energy. We're very liminal, if we haven't already been liminal for months. We're in two worlds, and the two worlds are certainly becoming more distinct. The emphasis of this in-between state is emphasized by the goddesses Hekate and Vesta, who are resting within the sign of Scorpio, about 6 degrees apart from one another. But I find them to be significant because they are also making a trine to the goddess Ceres in Pisces, who is making a square to Jupiter. Whenever Vesta is conjunct or in a aspect to significant planets or points, there's potential for crisis, there's potential for breakthroughs. Having her conjunct Hekate, the goddess of the threefold, Mother, Maiden, and Crone, a goddess who can navigate from the underworld, the mortal realm, to the higher realms, conjunct Miss Vesta, the hearth, the axis mundi for us Jungians, the center. We are in a liminal center. Perhaps this is somewhat of a quiet before the storm, which is kind of odd to say because it's been certainly rainy and stormy out there on everyone's fronts. But we're going to have that full moon in Libra, and we're going to have Hekate and Vesta hanging out with each other. We're going to have asteroid goddess Juno making a trine to Neptune and Aries, and then we have Ceres and Jupiter in harmonious aspect. Beyond that, we have Mars making a trine to the nodes of fate, the north node specifically in the sign of Pisces, and the north node is resting at the 27th degree of Pisces, and Mars is resting at the 27th degree of Cancer. The 27th degree in the zodiac is pretty special because talking about Sagittarius is home to the galactic center, and in astrology we mark that being at the 27th degree line, 27th degree line. The north node is making a square to the galactic center. The south node is making a square to the galactic center. This is saying that our human collective spiritual consciousness is expanding and detracting at the same time. I mentioned that there's two worlds emerging. Unfortunately, there is. Arcturus, the moon being conjunct Arcturus over the weekend, is kind of giving us a standing ground for a moment, a chance to center and recoup, because we've been kind of all in a rock tumbler for like the last 6 months. Like think about when Mars went into Cancer around September 30th. How have you been? I know my whole entire world has been drastically different since September 30th, since Mars went into Cancer. And Mars is finally going to be exiting Cancer and go into the long-awaited sign of Leo. But right now, Mars is kicking up some karma. Juno is coming in, giving a trine to Neptune to say, hey, do you want to commit to these things that you've been committed to for the past 10 years? The past 12 or 14 years that Neptune has been in Pisces? Is it time to shift gears for the betterment of your spirituality, for your higher self? Libra is a sign about the other. This weekend, others will be making it very clear to you if you should stay or go in certain situations. Aries is about the self. So obviously, there's going to be a tug of war between you and them, us and them, talking about liminal spaces once again, two worlds emerging. We are at the core, at the center of this storm right now. And we have to respect cycles. We have to respect Ceres. And I've got to say, I would love to hear what happens to y'all around April 30th, because Juno will be moving backwards as she's retrograde and come to make trines with the planet Saturn. So commitments and integrity are going to hang out with Juno of contracts and sincerity. And then Juno's going to make a trine to the North Node around May 3rd. And then she will trine Mercury and the North Node, because Mercury will be conjunct the North Node on May 5th. So Cinco de Mayo, you will see how this regroup this weekend is going to lead to whatever is going to happen on May 5th. So choose wisely. Listen to others, but stay in balance, because this is a full moon, baby, and opposites grow at the fulcrum. Where's that center point? Where's your center point? Arcturus is in the constellation Boots, and it is following Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. Arcturus is a leader. So I really think that we need to be listening to the other this weekend, but we need to be in an observant state. We need to be in review. We don't want to be wrathful like Juno, and we don't want to have some drama, because Ceres and Jupiter are brother and sister, and they got some serious beef between them, okay? And that beef has to do with Persephone, the goddess of spring. And we are in spring in the northern hemisphere. So how can we make peace with all these family dramas? Mars is still in Cancer. We have a full moon. It's karma. I would just say, watch life unfold for you. With all this energy in Pisces this weekend, and with a little bit of Aries spice, things are going to unfold in front of you in ways that you cannot imagine. Similar to last weekend, it can go either way. It's a roll of the dice. It doesn't have to be dramatically positive, dramatically negative. If you're lucky, you can grow. Oh my goodness, and let's not forget about Chiron. Asteroid Chiron will be conjunct the sun at the time of the full moon on April 13th, which only highlights and exaggerates the themes of family wounds, wounds from the past, early childhood. Chiron is in Aries, and you know what is really ironic is around this time last year, when we had the solar eclipse that passed over the United States, Chiron was conjunct the sun in Aries, but it was at the 19th degree. This weekend, it's the 23rd degree, so it's a little bit more evolved. But think about last year, where you were and where you are now. Think about how different things are compared to what was then and what is now, and imagine how different things are going to be just around the river bend. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening to the end. I'm Liz Grace Christie. I'm a practicing galactic and evolutionary astrologer. I offer readings on my website, galacticmythology.com. I offer a half an hour to 1 hour readings. And if readings aren't your thing, but you would like to support me, I just recently created and produced an item called an intuition kit. A kit geared to help bring you closer to your higher self, your spirit guides, and to spirit in general. Each kit has a crystal pendulum, a hand silk-screened pendulum mat, and a pamphlet that I wrote to help you use that pendulum successfully. This kit is contained within a cotton drawstring bag that I hand dyed. I'm a textile artist alongside being an astrologer, and I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you all for listening to the end. Don't forget to use promo code podcast20 on that intuition kit to get 20% off. It's one word, all lowercase, podcast20. You'll hear from me next weekend. I'm sending so much love. Bye.